What's up? It's Marty here. It's time for another episode of cheap, almost free collecting tips. Here we go. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about diversity. So what does that mean? Basically, to me, diversity, as far as video game collecting is concerned, means shopping around. So not always doing something or getting stuff in one place. There might be different places with different specialties, for example. So it might kind of seem obvious, but shopping around is going to get you the best deals. You're going to be able to compare prices. It's going to help you research prices, because if you're just like looking at eBay or GameStop, they might be skewed in one direction. For example, GameStop is going to give full price on more popular games, newer games, whereas eBay is going to be the full price on all the rarer games. Whereas GameStop, they're not going to really care about those. They're not going to give you much credit because there's not going to be that much interest. So they're not going to have very many rare games, which means they're just going to sell them for cheap. But on the other side, because they're going to sell them for cheap, that means that you can, if you find them, you're getting a good deal there. This also applies to trade-ins. So I have an Elite Pro membership at GameStop. And just recently, actually, I picked some games up to trade them into GameStop because I knew I would be able to make a quick few bucks on each game. Get my money back, make some cash, and get some credit. But before that, I was on my way home from work. I decided to stop at Disc Replay, see if they'd get me anything more. I didn't really expect them to. They weren't that great of games, so I didn't really expect that much. Surprisingly, I got probably twice as much as I would have at GameStop. And at GameStop, I had the extra 20%, so that was including that too. So if I wouldn't have shopped around, I would have got a worse deal. I still would have got a good deal for what I paid, but it wouldn't have been quite as good. Now back to the idea of different places having different specialties. So kind of going back to the example of rare or common but in high demand games. So that's something that you can kind of notice in GameStop. They're not going to make you spend too much on rare games. But if it's a game that's really popular, it's going to be costing you more. Now, maybe you're going to go to a local pawn shop. That can kind of be free reign. A lot of pawn shops, the older stuff is super cheap. Sometimes they will price things individually, but a lot of places will have like 360 games, PS2 games, and PS3 games for anywhere between like $2 and $5 each. You can get a lot of good deals there if you go in at the right times. Maybe they just got some good games in that are worth quite a bit, but they just are like, okay, this is a 360 game, this is a PS3 game, we're just going to sell it for $3. I've got a lot of games that way. And a lot of different pawn shops are different. So what I like to do is when I go on a trip somewhere I haven't been, stop at a bunch of pawn shops, and I almost always find something. And in your local area, if you have a few pawn shops, I have one that I go to quite a bit. They're getting in a few new things every few days. Just picked something up there today. And most of their older stuff, they just have for $2 for $5 or $3 each otherwise. So that's a really good way for me to pick some stuff up that I want for cheap, and also pick some stuff up that I have already that I can trade into GameStop or sell for a little bit of a profit. And they're actually starting to do that a little bit more with like PS4 and Xbox One games. They're starting to sell those cheaper too. So it really depends. And just because you see a good deal somewhere, like for example, there's a game, they're selling it for $20 at GameStop. You see it at a pawn shop for $15. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be $10 at the next pawn shop. So just because you see something cheaper doesn't mean you can't go back the next day. Usually these games are going to stay there for a while if they're at a pawn shop, unless they're like a super rare game. Which case, then you usually want to pick it up if it's a good deal. So going back to the idea of diversity is never a bad thing. It's just giving you options. It's great for the consumer. Now, if you don't have the option of diversity, there's always the diversity of online stores. So you can compare with Amazon, eBay. I've picked things up at shopgoodwill.com. There's lots of different stores, and there's lots of different places in social media. Let Go, Facebook, OfferUp. Sometimes it feels like you're not really getting anything from those places. But other times you're going to get great deals. You just kind of have to wait for it. Going back to the patience and persistence. And the more places you look, the more likely you're going to find good deals. Plain and simple. If you're only looking at GameStop, you're only going to find the good deals at GameStop. If you're only looking at Best Buy, you're only going to find the good deals there. If you're looking everywhere, you're going to be able to find the best deals out of everything. There might be times where right after you buy a game, it goes on sale somewhere else. That happens. But if you're checking around, and you don't need to go somewhere every single day, maybe check in on some of the stores online. Like, I can check prices on Best Buy, GameStop. If I really want to look at Walmart, usually they don't have that great deals, but I can check those places just on my phone. Other places like local stores that are always getting new products in, I can go in, check them out every few days, maybe every week, depending on how often it seems like they're getting stuff in. And that's how you can be productive with this. So you really have to keep going all the time. Again, going back to that patience, that persistence. But the biggest part about this is going to a bunch of different places, because you can be persistent just going to Goodwill every single day, but then you're going to miss all the deals everywhere else. So that's why I think diversity is important when it comes to video game collecting. Shopping around is always a good thing to do. So if you like this video, please let me know. If you hated it, let me know that too. Otherwise, stay tuned till next time.